All over the world, people are fighting back. Whether through the heated protests of the Arab Spring, the Vancouver riots following a Game 7 collapse, the lootings and destruction of the August riots in London, or the Occupy movements here in the West. People clearly have something to say. Perhaps the clearest fact of these protests is they all share a common thread. That is, they began, were supported, or were maintained by social media.
This year, the Arab world erupted as a generation of young people, no longer prepared to suffer in silence, rose up against the hated despots who ruled their countries.
Gaddafi has destroyed our country, and now we can test the freedom.
Cultural revolution and social struggle are not new ideas. As history has taught us, these types of events are cyclical, returning to us time and time again in very familiar forms. 2011 was a year with few exceptions to this trend, as people came out in force to actively protest a cause or situation. They were among a wave of social activism that was not only started, but also fueled by social media. In this video, we will look at how individuals use social media to participate in and promote social activism, the tipping point where it becomes a trend, and the arguments for and against its use for social change. Social media is now a global force, reaching people of all races, creeds, and cultural backgrounds, and giving them the tools to voice their thoughts and beliefs. We sat down with an anonymous freelance journalist to get his insight regarding how and why people participate in activism through social media.
So how do social networks promote and sustain activism? First of all, it's a great way to send messages to a bunch of random people online. So whether it's people that have the same beliefs, the same religion, the same backgrounds, they can basically get involved in social media and join a protest or a movement by following certain activities that are happening online and then joining them in the real world. So if we look at the whole Occupy Wall Street movement, that was actually done starting with a hashtag on Twitter, which was Occupy Wall Street. So these can obviously promote social media activism events, but they can also sustain them by making sure people don't forget about what's going on, by making sure that people are always aware of what's going on around the world. How would you think people participate in social activism? That's really a question of what the people's intentions are when they're taking part in these activities. So if you look at Gustave Le Bon's theory of crowd psychology, basically these people, when they're put together in a crowd, they lose their individuality. They just go and they take part in something and they just feel like they're losing their personality. They're just taking part in an activity and they're just doing it because everybody else around them is doing it. That's what the crowd is doing, so that's what's right. That's the psychology behind what these people are doing.
Clay Shirky gave a recent TED Talk where he explained that social media is less just a source of information, but rather a site of coordination. The internet is the first medium in history that has native support for groups and conversation at the same time. Social networks, then, excel at promoting and sustaining conversations involving many people. We sat down with the same journalist and asked him to explain the origin of these social media movements.
Like I said, Occupy Wall Street just started off with a hashtag, so just that shows that one person tweeting can actually send a message to thousands, if not millions across the world about a social movement that, like I said, is not even well defined. It's just people taking a stand saying they want change. So what we really have to think about is what is going on with social media that can actually bring us to a point of active forms of social activism in society.
Malcolm Gladwell explains that where activists were once defined by their causes, they are now defined by their tools. Facebook and Twitter warriors now go online to push for change and start a snowball effect which makes people notice, connect, and interact. As with any issue, there are two sides to the coin. Some media theorists believe social media has the potential for long-term change, while others see it having no lasting effect. Whether or not they agree, the arguments for or against online activism raises numerous positive and negative ideas. Beth Cantor and Allison Fine break this opinion down into a simple statement, explaining that social media powers social networks for social change. Jane Wales takes this concept a step further, arguing that social media offers tools for activism which, when used to full advantage, can promote transparency, collaboration, and a new openness to ideas. Malcolm Gladwell argues in the opposite direction, claiming the platforms of social media where activism is concerned are built around weak ties. These weak ties are noticed in the mainstream social platforms like Twitter, concerning people you've never met, and Facebook, which manages friends, the majority of whom are ones we are out of touch with. Mark Granovetter explains that there is a strength in weak ties, though. Our acquaintances, not our friends, are our greatest source of new ideas and information. Social media lets us exploit the power of these kinds of distant connections with marvelous efficiency and get involved actively where we see fit. An economist writer claims that social media may one day make actual protests unnecessary, which in the end could be a good thing. It could also beg future questions about potential activist obstacles and drawbacks. Who decides the important issues? How do you avoid the mob mentality shown at the start of this video? Can social media really promote lasting change? These will all be answered as the networks and our attitudes and beliefs evolve over time. Paula Goodman sums it up best, warning us to not expect this revolution to look traditional, because long-term social transformations never do.